right, you're watching the Power Hour. I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones. I have a special guest joining us who has an incredible story of triumph over food addiction and sugar cravings. Jessie Dybel joins us to share her journey from being overweight, struggling with blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, to where she is now, living a healthy, balanced life. Jessie, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are
I'm doing pretty good. First off, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
you? Absolutely.
Now, I saw your story on social media, and it's pretty inspiring. And I believe that our viewers would be also inspired by your story. Let's start from the beginning. Your journey. You were overweight, right?
Yes,
Can you tell us about that?
sure. I have been overweight pretty much since high school. Not as bad as it had gotten, but I boomed up to 323 pounds. And I'm only 5'3". So that's a pretty significant increase in weight. Over the course of about 25 years having babies and going older, I was able to lose weight here and there, but I would always come back to that weight. And it was just unbelievably unhealthy for my frame, for my lifestyle, for being a mom. There was nothing good coming of it. And shortly before I started this journey, I'd been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which I knew was a possibility. We have a family history of it. And I really was just sort of skating the line, thinking if I could just kind of stay away from that diagnosis, like things weren't that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. Now, while you were in your struggle with the weight loss, okay, did you feel like, okay, I have to get this under control, but I'll wait? Some people know they're in trouble, but wait and say, oh, I'll do it later.
Mhm.
What prompted you to say, you know what, let's get this, I need to change my life?
So that's a really fun story. It's been circulated around a handful of times. My family and I, almost 2 years ago to the day, we got family photos taken. And I was so excited. We had a professional photographer that we absolutely love. He did amazing photos for us, and we were really ecstatic to get them back. I got those photos back on my phone. He sent the message that they were ready. And I'm looking at them, and I'm driving in the car with my husband and said, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I look awful. Like, no matter how much we paid for these pictures and how good of a photographer he was, like, I can't possibly actually look like that. And so I was going on and on about how frustrated I was with how I looked, and my weight had gotten back up. And my loving, God-fearing husband said, then do something about it. And I said, I am doing something about it. I've been on a diet for 25 years. And he said, listen, I love you the way you are. I married you the way you are. I don't care. But if you're bothered by it, then do something and quit complaining. And I took my insulted butt to the Lord and complained about my husband. And the Lord said, you have to do something about it.
Right, right,
And that was a real wake up call for me.
right. I want to say shout out to your husband. You know, big
Right.
shout out to What was the first step did you take? What was the first step you took?
The first thing I did was allowing the word addiction to come into my vocabulary. I knew it. I had been avoiding it. This wasn't just somebody who struggled with weight and couldn't keep it off and gained a little too much with pregnancies. I was full blown addicted. And I knew it, and I was hiding it from everyone. I would keep boxes of, pastries in my car under the seat. I would eat 2 and 3 dinners. I was eating fast food nearly 2 and 3 times a day. I was absolutely addicted to food and sugar. So the first step for me was allowing the Lord to say that word and say, this is where you are. You can't pretend that you've got this under control or that you have the answers. We need to deal with this first. So I spent about 30 days digging into devotions, getting my hands on everything about addiction recovery, food, overeating, binging, all of the stuff, and educating myself and praying and asking the Lord what step I was supposed to take first. So there was no weight loss taking place during that, just a renewing of the mind and accepting the place that I was and realizing I had to surrender the entire walk to him or I was going to be right back where I started.
Right, right. Now, understanding it was a struggle. How did you manage to stay consistent?
With the devotion or with the weight loss?
Well, let's start with the weight loss.
The the first thing the Lord showed me was that sugar was my overriding addiction, and it was going away forever. And I believe it's James 5:17 that says, to him who knows, or no, it's not James 5:17, but scripture says, to him who knows to do and does not, for him it is sin. So even though sugar is not a sin for everyone, the Lord very clearly let me know that it was a sin for me. It needed to go away. So I grieved that, physically grieved it for several days. But once I knew that, and I knew the steps that I had to take, it wasn't as hard as I always thought it was going to be. Once I removed sugar and steered clear of it, just knowing that it was a mandate from the Lord, this was now part of my walk with him, and I had to obey that. It took the pressure off of me. I didn't have to be in control or control what I was eating or what I was going to eat. That guideline, that boundary was there. And from that stemmed other boundaries where the Lord said, okay, I'm going to show you this food's not good for you. It's causing you to think differently, act differently, crave differently. And it was just this big growing process of learning to communicate with my body and learning to listen to the Lord and what he was communicating with me.
Right. Now, I tell people all the time how important daily devotions are. How influential was that in your daily life?
It was the thing that made or break it. The goal of what I was doing was to replace my food addiction with Jesus. I was trying to fill up on food instead of going to him to be filled and fueled. So when I was getting my daily bread from the word instead of, the snack cakes or the McDonald's drive-thru or whatever it happened to be, it sustained me in ways that I hadn't allowed the Lord to sustain me before. Keeping in those devotions and renewing my mind daily, staying focused on him instead of focused on what I was having to give up, was the difference maker. It's what caused me to be successful.
Right. Now, how challenging was it? I mean, did you face any challenges while you were on your journey? Like,
I absolutely did.
Setbacks or anything like that?
I did. Prior to starting this walk, I had a part-time business as a cake decorator. I was the cake lady. So I still had orders to fulfill once I gave up sugar. And I remember just a few weeks into starting this journey, I'm sitting at a wedding with a cake I made. Everyone around me is eating it, and I've got my little bar of pre-approved food that I'm eating, and watching people eat pizza and all the things that I had been addicted to. And that's where those devotions and that renewing of the mind comes. So there have been times where, the sugar addiction was healed, but the overeating wasn't. And so I might be eating really good, healthy, nourishing foods, but I'm eating 3 and 4 portions of them.
Right.
And so I had to keep taking those steps back and letting the Lord shine his light on every area of misstep and saying, okay, why did I go to that? What caused me to need that instead of needing Jesus first?
Right. Now I want to talk about mental health, because how did the transformation affect your mental health?
I didn't expect it to be so challenging. There were areas of it that I just bloomed. My confidence bloomed. I felt pretty. I felt fun. I was able to walk in confidence I'd never experienced before. And I was walked out of depression and anxiety. I had a panic attack for the first time in my life, so bad that we thought I had a heart attack.
Wow.
Shortly before starting this journey. So it was getting really bad and out of control. And the Lord healed and delivered all of that. The foods that I was choosing fed my brain properly. The foods I was neglecting and getting rid of helped heal my body and my brain, and it really just helped. But what caught me off guard was how quickly, even though, I lost 150 pounds, that's, my husband said, that's 2 people in a pair of jeans. So that was a really big deal, but the enemy doesn't stop. So I would look at myself in the mirror and think, wow, you can't even tell I lost. And my husband looked at me one day and said, no, we can tell. Like, you can definitely tell. But because I'm a 44-year-old woman, there's still things about my body that don't look like someone who's 20. So that was really hard to see. That part didn't go away. I had to come to the Lord with my identity, with my vanity, with my pride, and resubmit and surrender those things as part of the journey. I don't get to choose what my body looks like. It doesn't matter that I lost 150 pounds. My mental health had to keep being renewed and surrendered to him as well. So there were things that came that were surprising that I was really excited about. And there were other areas that I didn't realize I was going to need to continue to surrender those things to him.
Right. Now, when did you take a look in the mirror and say, whoa, I look pretty darn good now?
I was walking past a window of all things and caught a glimpse of myself and didn't recognize me. I've been wearing 3X size shirts and size 28 and 30 pairs of jeans, and I'm smaller than I was in high school. And that that kind of threw me off guard. And my husband said shortly after that, I made the comment to him, and he said, I keep forgetting how small you are. And I said, small is never a word that's been used to describe me. And he stood behind me, and I realized how petite I was in comparison to him. And I'm like, I kind of am small. Like, I really didn't, I've just always been big. I've always taken up so much space and felt like that was who I was, but it's not my identity. It's just the amount of matter that was attached to me.
Yeah. Now, I know your husband is a huge supporter, right?
Yes.
What about family and friends?
I can say there were some family and friends when I told them no sugar that were very concerned for me at first. Everyone had watched me go on diet after diet after diet. They knew how restrictive this was, and people were genuinely concerned that it would cause me to just go off the rails by restricting so much. But the minute it stuck, the minute they realized that it was a revelation from heaven, that it wasn't just some diet Jessie cooked up in her head, my family has been on board to no end. I mean, my husband and my daughter don't eat the way I eat consistently, but they're extremely supportive, choosing restaurants that I can go to that'll have the foods I want, making sure that we eat at home if that's what it takes. And then there are other family members who will hear someone offering me food and trying to just taste a little bite of this or have a little, well, we can't tell you there's no sugar in it, but there's probably isn't. And I say my no's politely, and those family members will come to my defense and say, no, she knows what she can eat. If she says no, you just need to drop it. She knows what she's doing. So having people willing to fight the battle with me, knowing what God did in my life and the deliverance is huge. It's really powerful.
All right. Now, did you just go on a diet, or did you incorporate exercise and go into the gym?
I did not exercise. I have walked periodically. But one of the things that was really integral part of me being successful was focusing on one step at a time. One healthy boundary, one healthy pattern, one new, mental breakthrough, and not trying to overwhelm myself and doing everything. So at this point, now that I've hit my weight loss goal, I'm going to start working out and walking a little more consistently, just because it's a new level in strengthening myself. But I have not exercised this entire time.
Oh, you look amazing. Now, where are you now as far as your diabetes and high blood pressure?
I'm completely healed of diabetes. My blood pressure is consistently normal. It gets checked at every single doctor's appointment. I no longer have the gut issues I was having. And one of the really exciting benefits, I've been anemic my entire life, and my anemia has been healed because of foods that I removed that I did not realize were causing the problems.
Wow. Yeah. Now, people may be watching this and say, well, what did she do? What did she eat? What were some of the things you started to eat? How did you eat different? What was it, the things that you ate?
The first thing I did was I went on an anti-inflammatory diet. So I removed anything that could cause gut inflammation, body inflammation, all sugars, all refined sugars, even sweeteners, and just cleansed everything out of my diet and let my body heal itself and just sort of reset. For the most part, I eat clean. I do occasionally eat packaged things. I'll go to a restaurant and eat because it's real life and we can't be at home cooking all of our meals from scratch every single day. But I eat clean. I eat high protein. I eat carbs. I have oatmeal. I have rice. I have potatoes. But I eat them strategically in the way that I know my body needed and what fuels me, what helps me feel the best mentally, feel the best physically. So any natural foods I will consume. There's no food groups that are off limits. I eat everything. I just try and stay away from the packaged and processed things as often as possible.
What advice would you give someone trying to, lose weight and having trouble staying on the path?
The best advice I can give is first identify what your weight issue is. Are you struggling with addiction on some level? And if you think you're not, and you go to the Lord and say, I wonder if I'm addicted to something, that first thing that pops in your brain that you try to defend and justify, that's your thing. That's what's causing you to be held up and separated. And the second is recognizing that on some level, we all need our Savior. This isn't a process that can be done on our own. If it was, we'd all be skinny. Nobody would be struggling with food addiction. No one would be overweight. It's a Jesus problem. The enemy sowed discord with our relationship with food from the very beginning. The very first sin recorded in the Bible is a husband and wife eating a food they were told not to eat.
Right.
So when the enemy can get into our food, the church especially has really neglected to shine a light on gluttony, on food addiction. We say no to everything the world has to offer. We turn down the alcohol, we turn down the drugs, we turn down the cigarettes, we turn down, fornication. We're really good and we're sanctified and we're righteous, but we're going to eat at those potlucks and those fellowships and those carry-ins, and food is from the Lord, so we say yes to it, but we still make food our idol. We replace it on our table. Instead of going to Jesus, we turn to our pantries, and it breeds disconnect, it breeds dysfunction, it breeds addiction, and it separates us from the Lord. And that's why he's been so successful in this.
Wow. You know what? I truly admire your story, your journey, your faith. And I kind of struggled with some things. I was really never that much overweight, but I did have high blood pressure and, some issues there. And I totally agree with you. Changing your diet absolutely changed my health as well. So it does work. Eating right definitely does save lives. Thank you. God bless you and your husband, and your family and friends for sticking with you and joining you and supporting you on
Absolutely.
your journey.
So out of the testimony of what the Lord walked me through and my healing and my deliverance was born my company, Redefined by Grace, and the Surrender and Weight Loss Food Addiction Recovery Program, Surrender Redefined. If people are interested in learning more about my story or getting in touch with us for the Surrender Redefined program, you can reach me at redefinedbygrace.net, or they can text or call 419-528-8528. We also do have a Facebook page, Redefined by Grace, that has a lot of information and part of my testimony out there. We are always looking for people to join the program, to walk alongside of them, and help walk them into their own food deliverance and healing through Jesus Christ. So thank you so much.